Hi all! Welcome to my living room and welcome to a brand new series that I am going to start on how to take care of somebody that has had a stroke, what to look for if you suspect somebody is having a stroke, what are the plans for the possibility of having a stroke in the future, and how to prevent strokes. Edward, enough. Of course, the mouthpiece is barking because I'm getting close to his dinner time. So, for those of you that follow my Cooking with Joel videos, or the updates that I've been giving, all of you should by now know that my husband had a stroke. And my husband had 2 strokes. But before we get into that, let's talk about what exactly a stroke is. A stroke can be a blockage of the brain or a ruptured blood vessel. There are 2 types of strokes. There's hemorrhagic, which is a ruptured blood vessel that occurs anywhere in the brain. And then there's ischemic stroke, which is caused by a blood clot. Now, both strokes can be equally severe, and both require immediate 911 attention. In my husband's case, he had an ischemic stroke, so his stroke was caused by a blood clot. Now, signs and symptoms of a person having a stroke can vary with each individual depending on the type that they're having. A hemorrhagic stroke, where is a rupture of a blood vessel, can have an onset of an extremely bad headache. You can have some droopiness. Those are immediate 911 calls. Those are go right to the emergency room. Do not go to an urgent care, but go to a main hospital immediately. Those are life and death strokes. And the reason a hemorrhagic stroke is a very severe stroke is once a blood vessel ruptures in the brain, it will cause the brain to swell. And that can end a person's life very, very quickly. Now, what is an ischemic stroke? Well, that's a blood clot that is in the brain. And that can be in any of the temples of the brain, in the front temple, the rear temple of the brain. Those also are 911 emergencies. Now, you might have heard people, if you know somebody that has had a stroke, or even on TV, that they can reverse a stroke. Yes, that is true in some cases. A hemorrhagic stroke cannot be reversed because that is literally a blood vessel that has ruptured. The only way to reverse and stop that is immediate brain surgery to stop the blood, and that's if they can get to the blood vessel that is ruptured in the brain, and if they've caught it quick enough. Now, an ischemic stroke can be reversed, but the window of opportunity to reverse an ischemic stroke is a very, very short window, and it's a 4-hour window from the onset of symptoms, getting the patient or the person to the proper medical facility, and if there is enough time to reverse a stroke. Now, in my husband's case, that was not possible because his stroke was what they call a slow building stroke. Now, some of the warning signs if you suspect a person of having a stroke or have had a stroke will be headaches, droopiness of the face on one side of the body, whether it be the eye, the mouth, weakness in one particular limb, speech if the person can't talk. And that we'll get into in another different video down the road on what areas of the brain get affected by a stroke. Now, in my husband's case, because he had the droopiness on the right side of his face, his stroke happened on the left side of the brain. And you'll be able to tell by which part of the face or numbness, a person has on which part of the brain is being affected. If it's the left side of the brain, that means that the stroke is affecting the right side of the brain. If the body is having problems on the right side, that means the left side of the brain is having the stroke. Treatments are basically get the patient as fast as you can to the emergency room. They will run diagnostic tests. They will take blood, do an MRI, do a CAT scan to see where the stroke is in the brain, and then discuss a course of action. Now, in my husband's case, he had a CAT scan followed by an MRI that showed the stroke. He was admitted into the hospital and was in the hospital for 6 days. So that is the beginning part of the stroke series. I will later on in the week come back and we will discuss what to expect to do when a person comes home from the hospital after having had a stroke. So follow as I go along these weekly updates and weekly series of stroke care for a patient.